You hit on USC, so much work to do. But Lincoln Riley, again, he's not brought in any kind of large haul in terms of volume of personnel, but the recruits have been high level. Damani Jackson, Raleek Brown, etc. Then he's aiming toward February. Same thing with Oregon. You mentioned the rank dropping because of the one flip to Arizona and Jed Fish, but they've only signed like 7 players, so they've got a ton of work to do. And you're talking about the traditionally best recruiting program, USC, and you're talking about the most recent recruiting giant in the conference with 3 consecutive #1 finishes in the conference. Still kind of, I don't want to call them in limbo, but they've got so much work to do toward February as opposed to what would typically be closing out a class almost with only 1 or 2 spots left going into February.
Well, Lincoln Riley said in a press conference this past Friday that he is hoping to change 35 spots on the roster. Now, that is a huge number to wrap your mind around in terms of the level of change that Lincoln Riley thinks is necessary. But USC fans are very much in agreement with that. I mean, whether he can achieve it, that's its own separate conversation, Mark. But in terms of the aspiration, USC fans think yes, because Clay Helton with the low quality of recruiting, the low quality of player development, Lincoln Riley is sizing all of this up, and he's saying, you know what, I'm not going to try and coach these leftovers. I really need to turn this thing over in a very big way. So fans are very much on board with that. Now comes the execution part. And USC, in terms of the transfer portal, where Lincoln Riley really wants to make a huge impact to supplement the recruiting, we've seen fewer than 10 transfers thus far. And one would like to think that in the coming weeks, maybe after the holidays, you will see a lot more USC players on the current roster enter the transfer portal, which will enable Lincoln Riley to get maybe not up to 35, but certainly to come close to it. Maybe high 20s, maybe even 30. So like you're going to see a lot more transfers as they go through the early winter period workouts and have more conversations and consider their options. And they look at everything that's happening as the recruiting cycle continues on into late January, early February. So you should see a lot more transfers, but whether Lincoln Riley can get to that 35 number, that's really ambitious. But obviously, what's the old saying? If you don't, aim high, you're not going to get there. Like you have to at least have that big goal so that even if you fall short, well, maybe you've still turned over 25 spots, which is still very, very substantial. That's obviously a part of Lincoln Riley's philosophy at USC.